This podcast is brought to you by Hoare Chartered Accountants. Hoare Chartered Accountants are based in Galway City and are a leading provider of audit, accountancy and taxation services. For more information, visit hoarecharteredaccountants.ie. Welcome along to the Maroon and White pod. So it is Wexford up this weekend for Galway in Pier Stadium on Saturday afternoon, where Galway look to get their second win of the championship. Just for anyone who wasn't aware, obviously we didn't have a podcast last week, and that was obviously just totally out of our control what happened, but we're back this week and we do have a podcast. I'm joined by Offaly Under-20 manager Leo O'Connor to look ahead to the clash. First of all, Leo, disappointment for your Offaly side?
Look, we have disappointment. It's the roller coaster that the whole thing has been on for the last 3 years. 3 All-Ireland finals, 3 years, 1 minor, 2 under-20s. It's disappointing, Paul, for the lads themselves. And I just think more now than anything else that in the last couple of days, I think the sudden realisation that our train has been derailed, as to say, it's come off the tracks, and it's just massive disappointment. Especially the highs over the last number of years, like initially the Tipperary minor final, one that we probably left slip when you look back in it. Different stages, different things happen, and it wasn't meant to be in the day of the minor. And then we'll say getting to the All-Ireland final in 2023 against Cork was absolutely huge, and it's one that we'll all look back on with pride because we really performed. A few things went against us on the day, but that's sport. And I suppose etched in Offaly people's memories forever and a day will be last year with Lowland Park, 25,000 people packed into Nolan Park, and the atmosphere, everything that was associated with that All-Ireland final has been absolutely massive for Offaly. And look, it's one that we'll all look back on with pride. It's been unbelievable. 3 Leinster Championships, 3 years in a row, 3 All-Ireland finals, coming out winners in one. Left another one behind us, as I said. And with all due respects as well, probably the secret of the whole thing was initially at the start of the roller coaster was, without shadow of a doubt, I suppose, was the combined schools when we won the Leinster colleges, going down to St. Kieran's, going down to Nolan Park, ironically, and beating St. Kieran's below in the Leinster colleges final. In 2022 as well, that was really the start of where it gave the lads the confidence, and we knew we'd arrived. And we drove on from there. And look, such is life. It is what it is, and that's the way sport goes. And look, great memories now, and an opportunity for someone else to step up to the plate this year.
Just on that, because obviously there'll be a lot of listeners curious with Galway still in it, and people feel they have a real chance this year. Your views on the current structure of the Under-20 Championship and where it's at with the calendar, how do you see it? Because it does really feel like with the Munster and Leinster Under-20 Championships, they have the space. It's a month and a half, and they're just ran off very quickly. Like, they don't really get time to even breathe for a few weeks.
Yeah. I suppose the underlining issue with the whole thing is, like, you got this, we're allowed to start on January 1 at Under-20 level. Okay, you give the lads gym programs and they all work away in gym programs. We'll say November, December, but you start January 1 at Under-20 level. A lot of our players this year were involved in Fitzgibbon Cup, were involved in Freshers Hurling. So a lot of time, and like, in fairness to the colleges deserve their time with them as well, because a lot of those guys, they're all on scholarships. For us, our players over the last, and I can only speak for Offley at the moment, so for our players at the moment, like the last 3 years, they've been involved at a very high level. And when their inter-county season is finished, it has led into their club season. Obviously, the clubs have reared these young fellas, brought them to a level, and we've pushed on and try and make them better players. And then obviously when they go to college, like Donald Shirley this year playing National Hurling League with Offaly senior hurling team, playing Fitzgibbon Cup, playing higher education Division 1 league, and also then trying to fit in training with under-20s and training with Offaly senior hurling team. So, like, when you look at that, the workload that's involved in that, 6 or 7 inter-county matches I think it was 8 this year with the Offaly senior team in National Hurling League. Um, challenge matches, Fitzgibbon Cup matches, higher education matches. So I mean, like by the time Donald got to the end of March, he has probably played, well, definitely by the end of April, he has probably played the bones of 15, 16 matches over a 12-week period. So when you look at that, it's rather intensive. But it's the way, and as I said, I speak for Offley, it's the way the lads have developed and they've been able to step up to the plate and take responsibility. It's been absolutely massive for them. As I said, we've like 5 or 6 players this year that were on the Ofley senior panel. In total, there was 8. Obviously, Adam missed out the whole Fitzgibbon Cup with UL through the osseous pubis injury. Turgoyne came back injured from his club from under 20 hurling, then got toward the same hamstring again. So it just goes to show the workload that's on these players. And it's something that, for player welfare, I think it has to be looked at. And I'm not objecting to anyone because these players are good enough to step up to the Offaly senior hurling team. But it's just something that we've just got to look at. And I think the GA as a whole, I mean, like I know Rory Burke was on the Galway senior hurling team. I think there was 4 the Galway under 20s on the Galway senior hurling panel. Certainly, I know Dublin, I think at one stage had 6. So from that point of view, there's a huge workload on these young fellas. And please bear in mind, and I keep emphasising this, a lot of these lads are only 19 years of age, going on 20. So it's a huge step up. And there's a bigger step up then between under 20 to go senior hurling with your county. Some of them are fully developed at that stage. Others are not developed and are trying to put up weight, trying to put up bulk, do the gym work, and then try to play hurling. So look, there's a huge workload. So from that point of view, it is one of the things that I think personally that it needs to be looked at.
Galway are obviously playing Dublin in that semi-final next Wednesday in Tmore in the 20s.
Mm.
Have you been impressed with Galway from what you've seen so far this year?
I have, yeah. I think Galway are, for me, right this minute, I'd be looking at Galway. But the thing about Galway that's just very careful is a Dublin team now that's after getting a huge confidence boost after beating Offley, and really stepping up to the mark. Like they weren't in the game last Monday. Like we were 9 points to 1-3 up at half time. And it was just one of those occasions where in the second half they came out, threw caution to the wind, and they really attacked us. And I think actually playing against the wind in the second half suited Galway because when they got the goals, we had to push up with them, and then it created space at the back. And Dublin showed their power and pace. Ollie Gaffney, corner forward. Conor Wheeler, centre back. These are guys that have been on the Dublin senior hurling panel, and they've really stepped up and taken responsibility. Obviously, Dublin were in a Leinster final last year, and they beat Galway in an under 20 semi final. So Dublin have plenty of experience. So it's one that they really want to be very, very careful of Galway. But with the Galway team that I saw above in Ballinasloe this year, very, very accomplished. A full forward line that are absolutely lethal, as the word I was used from. Every chance that became available that night, they took it. And they'll have benefited from obviously coming to top in the group. And I suppose in a different way, it creates a different challenge because the break they've had, they'll probably have had a 6-week break up to next Wednesday night. So from that point of view, it's something that really Galway would want to be on their toes, razor sharp. I know they've played 1 or 2 matches. They went down and played Kilkenny as well, below Kilkenny. So from that point of view, they've got to be razor sharp and just be very wary of a Dublin team that's probably getting the perfect break, 10, 11 days out, beating Offley, and then, ready to go again. All their bruises and knocks and cuts and whatever will have healed. And as I said, the confidence boost of beating Offley will be huge to Dublin. It'll be a very intriguing game next Wednesday night in Tullamore. One, I wouldn't write this minute. I wouldn't write off Dublin. But if Galway play to their full potential, I think they could get over the line.
Does it help Galway in one sense? You mentioned there even the difference between Offaly having all their 20s nearly playing with senior, but for Galway, it's been more on the extended panel. Rory Burke's obviously been part
Mm,
of the panels, but you have then Sean Murphy, Jason Rabbit, Aaron Island all on the extended. Killian Terry still out injured.
mm.
Does that help in one way that they're even throughout the break that those players are getting exposed to senior
Yeah,
intercounty training?
yeah. I know Galway have played their senior inter-county players in training, and they've played a lot of matches against the Galway senior hurling team. So from that point of view, they're getting access to the players kind of that way. We did the same above in Offaly. Now it's not that we didn't do it above in Offaly. We played the Offaly senior hurling team twice this year. So from that point of view, you'll be getting access to the players that way. Um, in another way, though, I think personally myself, I think it's very, very important that Galway do very well this year on the 20 hurling level because they haven't had success over the last number of years. Um, and I think it's one that when they look back on, like if you look at it, 2022, Kilkenny beat them in a Leinster final above in Tullamore next after extra time, a great game. And they really haven't featured since. I know they got to an All Ireland minor final in 2023 and they didn't really show up in the day. They were very disappointed with themselves. So from that point of view, I think it's one of those occasions where it's a really important to Galway, the under 20 hurling this year, because it's bringing in another group of players that will be able to step up in time over the next 2 or 3 years and help Micheál Donoghue because Micheál has come back in after Henry, and like Henry went with the tried and trusted, and unfortunately it didn't work. But it wasn't for the one of not trying players, but he kind of stuck with the experienced players. And now I just think that the time is right for Micheál Donoghue. I saw him above against senior wise. I saw him above against Offley 2 weeks ago, and I was very, very impressed with him. Um, and I just think that it's really important that they're able to step up. Like Tiernan Killeen as a lad. Obviously, they played under 20 last year or two. As you said, Killian Traers is out injured, but you know, uh, you have Conor Wheeler, and like these guys are the experience that they're carrying it, and it's great when they see young blood coming in around it to take it to the next level, and that's why I feel that next Wednesday night for Galway under 20s against Dublin, it's really important that they do show up and get into a Leinster final and possibly go on. And like really, the way I look at it for Galway, it's an All Ireland semi final, an All Ireland quarter final next Wednesday night, and then you're into an All Ireland semi final because if you look back over the last 20 years, Galway have been very accomplished at bringing through minor teams, and for whatever reason, it hasn't really come through to under 20s. So I think that's really important for Galway to push on this year and try and win that under 20.
It's crucial, Leo, isn't it, for the teams trying to even step up to the Limericks and the Corks, and for counties who aren't having this success at senior level, that this 20s success can be massive.
Look, there is no substitute for under 20 hurling. Um, I suppose it's hurling with the shackles thrown off because a lot of it, while there are a lot of tactics used, a lot of it is young lads going out, giving it their all, giving it 200%. You'll see it, the energy, the fitness levels, the vibrancy attached to the youth of it. And that's the only way I can describe it. It is so, and that's why I suppose about Offaly that it did catch the imagination because we let these players off, we let them go out and express themselves well within knowing playing to a structure that we knew that we could play to. And that was the most important thing, Paul. It's just, as I would call it, it's kind of free spirit hurling. And they go out and, as I said, they go out and express themselves. I mean, like the night, I don't know whether you were at the night above Ballinasloe,
Yeah,
huge,
definitely.
huge crowd above Ballinasloe, great game of hurling, crowd enjoyed it. And, everyone, they're seeing the young guys coming through and it lifts the spirits. And it's basically I what Galway feel at the moment. It'll lift the spirits for their senior team. Because I've no doubt last year, the influx of the under 20s last year and the Offaly senior team getting over the line, winning a McDonagh Cup was huge. And it's one now that they've got to try and maintain their status in the Leinster Championship as well.
But to look at this weekend, Galway playing Wexford, 3:15 in Pier Stadium. I met you up in Tullamore before the Galway Offaly game, and it was a nervy one, obviously, for Galway fans before that game. But were you impressed coming away from Tullamore that night with Galway?
I was. But I just think that, and I think it's the same come this weekend now from Paul, to be quite honest. I think it was a do or die situation from above in Galway. The Manion stepped up. TJ Brennan had a huge game. As I said, Tieran Killeen, another young lad. But it's different. This weekend is going to throw a different challenge above in Galway from, in that this is a Wexford team now that's not going to lie down. Remember, Wexford have 2 points on the board. Do you know what I mean? And this is a situation where whichever team comes out of it this weekend is going to be extremely comfortable. They'll have 4 points on the board. Obviously, Galway will have 4 out of 6. And for Wexford, it's another step. They're all stepping up, and it looks like you're coming out of Leinster, and that's the push that they both need. The one thing that I will say about Galway is how they handle Lee Chen. And I mean, like, the guy's in the form of his life. He's a bundle of energy. I suppose he's your Duracell bunny. He's big, strong, robust, good hurler, getting on ball, wants it, and the more he gets it, the more he wants it. The tougher he gets, the tougher he gets. And he's become a go-to hurler. He's probably one of the best in the top 3 or 4 hurlers in Ireland at the moment now at this stage. And like, he's getting over injuries. He's suffered his fair share. And I feel that he feels now that it's the perfect opportunity for him and for this Wexford team to push on as well. Keith Rossiter has done a fabulous job. They have a lad coming through, corner forward, Cian Byrne. We played against him 2 years ago, under 20. He's a fabulous hurler, good corner forward. Like, they have players all over the place within their squad that they can really, for want of a better word, they're learning from their experiences. Last year, below Nolan Park, I saw Wexford against Kilkenny below Nolan Park last year, and I was very impressed with Wexford. It's only in the last 4 or 5 minutes that Kilkenny pulled away, and that was like Kilkenny were pushed to pin at their collar that day. TJ Walter they had to bring on Walter. Like, there was no easy fix for Kilkenny that day. It was get out and win it, and they got down the home straight in the last 5 minutes, and that's the thing that Keith Rossiter has brought, and it's something similar what Peter Queally has brought below Waterford. Like, when there's someone from your own county managing it, like, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, it just seemed, they've bought into Keith. Keith would have worked with a lot of these players at under 20 level as well below Wexford, the same way with Peter Queally. Like, the Waterford players have bought in to one of their own after going through a period of outside managers. So that's they're things, all small little factors that give you that extra 2 or 3% the whole time, and that are pushing this situation on. And look, I just think that Wexford have a massive chance. They'll go up, no better team, they'll go up and face the challenge. But as we know, when Wexford in the past, they've let themselves down at various stages, when it always seems that they're set up to really push on. And I hope that they've learned over the last there've been 1 or 2 fluke results from. But certainly, I think that's at the back of their mind, and I think that's going to be the really careful thing, that they will push on and go up and attack a Galway team that, as I said, that are young enough. Micheál Donoghue starting out again with him for his second period as manager. And look, they need the home win. You've got to win your home matches. That's the end all and be all at the end of the day,
Just on, because for a lot of Galway fans, we would have expected Dybers to pick up Leachin. Obviously, Dybers now unavailable with the red card. Do you think it's right that he's missing this weekend?
I think he's a massive loss to Galway. I think you saw how he steadied the ship above in Tullamore. Like, he's a physical presence. I don't know what was going on the night above in Tullamore. I just feel that it was completely unnecessary what he did, to be quite honest, because I think the whistle had been blown before the ball landed down on top of the 2 of them. And I think it was a little bit of something that, a little bit careless. And yeah, okay, fair enough. The hurley broke and stuff and so forth. I think it looked actually worse than what it was. And I think there was a delayed reaction from Brian as well, because Brian suddenly realised what was that. And, it was more shock pain than anything else. But certainly it was completely careless. The referee had no other option. And I suppose really a little bit of pushing and shoving, the handbags that went on after it, that led to a situation where James Owen had to act. And unfortunately for that, he saw red. And he learned from it. He learned from it, because I think he's a massive loss to Galway. It'll be interesting to see what way Galway go Who will they?
Challenge, isn't it? Because even Fintan looked comfortable in the corner, Dahi looked comfortable at three, they looked really assured. Now they probably have to rejig a bit and put Fintan at three. Maybe he's the man that goes after Lee Chin this weekend.
Yeah, it looks like that Fintan is going to be the man. Um, yeah, just Gavin at six as well. Gavin is a young lad who has, as I said, played on 20 for the last 2 or 3 years, and the stability that Dahi Burke gave him behind playing a three, and that coaching that comes from experience from Dahi Burke. And alongside him, as I said, Manion has been a huge. You could see the factor that Tiernan was so comfortable with the two boys around him. It's going to be interesting to see because Dahi is a big, strong, physical guy. Fintan Burke, while he is a strong man, he's not as tall. He's probably not an out and out fullback that Dahi Burke is. So it's bringing that bit of intrigue, and it'll be interesting to see whether with Lee Chen starts at 14, comes out to 11, and he drifts around the place. So are they going to man mark him? Are they going to put someone on him? But it's all that's something for Micheál Donoghue to work out. One of the most interesting things of all that I saw above Galway, above in Tullamore, was the way they created space in their backline. With the way that Pádraig Manion and TJ Brennan wanted to get 4 points above in Tullamore, and he created that space. And Pádraig Manion was very, very wary of that crossfield ball that he delivered to him. And I was absolutely delighted to see a Galway half backline push up the field, especially with 14 players for the second half. And they really took the challenge to Offley. And it was certainly intriguing to see him, being brave enough, and TJ Brennan put up the field, 2 points in the first half, 2 points in the second half. And, it was a joy to watch. But I just wonder, will Galway at home sit and let the game develop and work their way into the game? As we say, they have to tackle their way into the game. They have to find their feet. And I feel they'll have to go another gear against Wexford. Because, like, if you look at it, um, Wexford with 6 points, having beaten Antrim, like the possibility of playing Offley at home, Offley will go down with a massive challenge. So this is a do or die situation for Wexford where they need to be picking up points, and certainly the one that they won't be relying on at any stage. So I feel Wexford will go and attack from the word go. And as I said, they've plenty of forwards, and then like Wexford in the backline, Damien Reck, like these are exceptional hurlers. One of the most experienced hurlers that they have, I suppose, is Mark Fanning inside in goals. He's restarts everything that he's picked up over the last number of years. He's become an exceptional goalkeeper. I remember last year, as I said, that match below Kilkenny, I was right behind him, sitting in the stand below Kilkenny, and his range of puckouts was absolutely intriguing. So that's something that Wexford will bring to the plate on the weekend, and certainly something that Galway are going to. Will Galway allow the short puck out and then see if they can work the ball up the field? That's something that, as a Wexford, if I was Wexford manager, I wouldn't be allowed it, because the space that they created and the diagonal ball, once they got to the ball to the half back line, even when they went cornerback, they made sure that the ball got to Pádraig Manion. And Pádraig Manion's delivery was absolutely spectacular above against Offley, and it created the opportunities for Galway above and Offley.
Mayo fairly shaped up the forward line against Offaly, moving Conor Wheeler out to 11, bringing Colin Malloy into the starting 15 as well. There were changes that really seemed to work.
Yeah, Conor Whelan's a class act. He's a strong, forceful. Like Conor Whelan will hurl whatever way the man who marks him wants to hurl him. If you want to hurl him, he'll go out and hurl you. If you want a physical, he'll give you a physical battle. And Conor Whelan, when he gets out in front, is a very strong man to stop when he turns you. Um, I Colin Malloy is an exceptional hurler when he gets the right ball in. And that's what I referred to briefly earlier when I said about Pádraig Manion's delivery. It's going to be vitally, vitally important how the ball is delivered in. Like above and Offley, they were given the time and space, and that diagonal ball worked in front of Colin Malloy, and it's almost as if he fed around the edge of the 14-yard box, 21-yard line. At times he played off it, and got on to breaking ball and popped it over the bar. He popped 2 or 3 of them in the first half over his shoulder over the bar. But then, towards the end of the first half, he went out to the corner. James Mahon came on. James played him from inside and didn't allow him the space. And in a way, it negotiated. It took Colm Malloy out of the game, and it's only when the last couple of minutes Colm came back into it when the game had opened up for Galway, knew that they were home and host. So from that point of view, it's going to be different. I think a Wexford team that will go physically at a Galway team. So from that point of view, be interested to see how Colm Malloy handles that. While he did have a very, very good debut, let's see the physicality. As I said, he's only 21 years of age. So let's see how he steps up the weekend. And these are all, as we say, this is all new experience, some as they all go along. But certainly, an interesting thing, though, Paul, that I'm going to say to you about the Galway situation is the Galway crowd need to turn up and get in and support that senior hurling team. Because you see, dare I say, at the football match last week, there was a huge Galway crowd above in Castlebar. And you see the difference it makes. And this is a home match for Galway. And Galway need that following. They need the crowd to get behind them. You saw at our under-21 match below in Ballinasloe, a huge Galway crowd there as well. And every score that went over the bar, it was cheered. And, it was bringing a freshness, bringing an energy. And the players buy into that and they feed off of that on the field. So I just think that it's a really important game that Galway show up, but in terms of a performance-wise, the players get the energy out of themselves and really push on, but also their supporters turn up above and really push this Galway team, because I feel that for a lot of these guys, it could be there's some of them coming looking down the end of their careers, and they have a lot of miles up on the clock. As I said, you could be buying a 2025 car, but there could be 200,000 miles up on it. And some of the Galway players, this year coming in, they'll be looking at it that way, So from that point of view, each year they'll save each year, and they'll all be trying to get the last year out, get another year. But it's certainly one that I just feel that there has to be an amalgamation. There has to be a unity in Galway. And I think with Micheál Donoghue behind him, I think that's going to be vitally important.
Just on that, you mentioned Lee Chin earlier and he's been exceptional. If you're talking about individuals throughout the championship so far, Carl Manion on one side and Lee Chin on the other side, both of them probably have to be up there as top performers if you're talking about individuals throughout the championship.
Without shadow, without both of them are up there. It's just been come back. I'm at a match on a Sunday, come back in, you watch the Sunday game, and you see Lee Chin in full flight. Boy, God, to see some hurler. He's a testament to the GA. He deserves everything he gets out of it. Lee Chin is around, 10 years now at this stage, coming 10 years. And he's given more to Wexford, I think, in 1 week than some players would probably give in a lifetime. If you look back over the Wexford teams that I played against, Larry O'Gorman, absolutely a legend below there. Worked his socks off for the county. Lee Chin is another one of those players. Tom Dempsey, all household names, Martin Story. These guys are household names that gave everything for Wexford. And it'll be an awful sin that if Lee Chin doesn't get the opportunity to try and maybe 2 or 3 years ago when Tip caught him in the All-Ireland semi-final, I think that was a massive opportunity that was let slip by. But it's certainly the ones that you'd love to see the likes of Lee Chin getting that Celtic cross, And as I said, Galway players are lucky enough. Some of them have them already. And if you look back in it, time passes by so quickly. And all you have to do, and I'd be straight out honest, all you have to do is look at Offley this week. I know the county's depleted. It's like the balloon has burst. But that's at only another 20 level, right? So these lads, they have a lot to look forward to with Offley players coming forward. But certainly a lot of players on this Galway team will be trying, as I mentioned it, they'll be trying to bring in under 20s next year, really push on and create a new energy attached to it.
Do you think Cathal Manion is underrated when it comes nationally to hurlers?
No. Cathal Manion, I think the two Manions, Pádraig Manion, Cathal Manion, I think they're two of the sweetest strikers that's in the game. This power and strength that's in their wrists. and the natural ability that they have. It's unbelievable to watch.
Mm.
I just think that you stand back and admire that as a hurling person, as a person that is that you it's like watching Tiger Woods play golf, when they're hitting a slitter. It's just that natural power. It's almost as if they're nonchalantly hitting it, and they can hit it 80, 90, 100 yards. That's fabulous to watch. You always look at them, both of them. You always look at them, and you say, "Are they the fastest guys in the world?" And you say, "I don't think so." But it's their positional sense. It's how they handle themselves. They always seem to be in the right place at the right time. How many times do you see them drop a ball coming out there? Very, very few and far between. So from that point of view, like one playing wing back and the other playing forwards, like it's superb to watch. And like both of them, they're both exceptional hurlers, and they'll both go down in the annals as well with hurling, and in indeed the GA, you know. So they're things that but there's a lot more. Joe Canning, the Canning family. There's a lot of tradition attached to Galway. The Connollys before that. It's huge. And there are things like, if you look back over the years, and even like my own county, like Kieran Carey, Cian Lynch, his nephew, like there's Ger Hegarty, Garrod Hegarty. There's loads, and that's the golden nugget that the GA have, and that's the golden nugget that the way the GA carry on, and that's part of our tradition,
Yeah, both Manions have been exceptional, really, and even the Kilkenny game, while it was a tough day for Galway, the both of them were really impressive that day too, as well as the Offley victory. It's a great point you make about this game. Like, it's season defining for both counties. If you look
It,
at Galway, 2 points. If they win this weekend, they go on to four, and then you have Antrim to come next weekend. You can go on to six, and like if you're to get the result against Antrim, go on to 6 points the following weekend, and you're going to Parnell Park basically in a Leinster semi-final then against Dublin if Kilkenny are to come out on top with them. And if Wexford get the result, it puts them back in it. But like whoever loses is under ferocious pressure here to get out.
that's what I'm saying, and that's what I'm saying about Wexford, and this is where the danger for Galway is the weekend. Like after this weekend for Wexford, they have an Offaly team coming to them on their backs, you know. Um, Galway win, it takes the pressure off them. They can go and play the Dublin match, go out and express themselves. And at the back of their heads, they have an awful lot of wrongs to put right against Galway after the defeat last year above in Galway by Dublin. So they're things that they're motivating factors. And for the life of me, I will not understand that if Galway don't get over the line against Wexford and against Dublin, like what more motivation do these guys need? Like if they end up on 6 points, they're probably in a Leinster final. Like you fully expect Kilkenny to get over the line against Offley on Saturday evening. So from that point of view, it'll be like it's unlimited for Galway because the year opens up for them. They're push on, get their energy. That gives them a freedom to go out and express themselves, knowing that they're either in an All-Ireland quarterfinal or an All-Ireland, and the opportunity to get directly to an All-Ireland semi-final. With the Munster situation down here at the moment, pending on results over the next two weeks, like Clare and Tip down here is a do or die situation for both of them. Like it could be that Clare might have only 1 point out of 6 if they're caught by Tip the weekend. Tip have improved. Clare on their backs fighting for not alone. They're trying to defend an All-Ireland title. They're down players. It'll be interesting to see what players they get back for the weekend. So, like, it's who would come out of Leinster and, like, what way you go and the direction you go. For me, it's the direct route, and that's try and win a Leinster Championship. And Galway have the potential to do that. Like if you look, they'll be highly disappointed the way they went down to Kilkenny. Took a ship to beating. That's the only way I can describe it. Kilkenny did it at their will. So, like for me, for Galway, getting a win this weekend against a very stubborn Wexford challenge, which they will do, I just feel that Like if they do get over the line, the year opens up for them. There
Yeah,
are massive opportunities down the line for them.
even if you look back to last year, like it was only 8 points in the end down in Wexford Park, but 128 to 23 points. That was a hammering, and it was the setback Galway took last year, and they could
Yeah,
never really recover from it at all last year.
no, and this is my point. So, like all the motivation factors, Micheál Donoghue has them all in his briefcase. Like it's a matter of just the time of opening them up when you need to open them up at the right time. And as we said, like this weekend is the perfect opportunity to put last year's result behind them. And as I said, the Dublin result going forward, Dublin beating Galway above Pier Stadium last year, that was a disaster, you know? So it's just a matter of opening the can of worms and letting these guys off. And as I said, the Offaly result will have given Galway an awful lot of confidence because they did put up a fair score, you know?
You mentioned their motivational factors with Micheál Donoghue. Like the last win in the league is Clare in Pier Stadium. I think that was early February. It's the consistency piece though that he probably has to go after. The Offaly result was good, but Go I've struggled to back it up this year, even if you look at the league, like there were two big defeats against Limerick and Cork. And even you mentioned about supporters getting behind this team, like if they can back up a result like this, but it has to be the consistency and performance piece that they have to chase this week.
Oh, listen, I keep saying that it's consistent. Galway has always been their biggest problem has been consistency. I was at the Limerick and Galway match, um, Paul below in the Gaelic grounds. Like the Galway team that turned up that night. Like when you see where Limerick were and you realise later in the league how Limerick performed, Limerick were gearing themselves for a championship. They tried out one or two things. And Galway were as flat that night, you know. An interesting person that we haven't spoke about is Conor Cooney.
Mm.
Like that guy has still a hell of a lot to offer. And I'd say Galway are trying to get him right because number one, he's a great hand. Number two, he's a target man. And number three, he's able to score. And like I feel that for Galway to really push on by the time that if they do get to a Leinster final, All Ireland quarter final, semi final, whatever the case may be, I think they're going to need this guy in full flow. It was interesting as well to see David Burke start the last day. Come on, use his experience, got on the ball, always delivering the right ball above against Offley. And it was really, really impressive from that point of view you know, that they went back to the tried and trusted. And certainly he'll be 2 weeks further down the line, another 2 weeks of further fitness in him. And as the year goes along, he'll be improving the whole time. His hurling will be getting faster. And there are things that, as you come down to the really important games later in the year, I just think that Galway will need all these guys going at 200%. As I said, it won't be sucking diesel. It'll need to be burning oil. They'll be at that stage. They'll really need to be pushing on with a full tank and have all these players ready. And I think that's the kernel for Galway this year. They've more than enough to get over the line against Wexford this weekend. But as I said, that consistency that has to appear again on this weekend for them.
Have you seen anything different under Donoghue's term so far?
Oh God, yeah. Um, like it's the energy. I saw Galway in January against Offley above in Faithful Fields in the challenge match, and like I was really impressed with him. He had a panel, I think, at that stage of about 52 players.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like he was trying players, and like a lot of the players that I've seen that he's tried have played over the last 2 or 3 years with Galway under 20, and certainly he opened the net, and I just think that it was all designed towards championship and getting them to a level for championship. I don't think he was too worried about the league, but I think on certain occasions that what opened his eyes a little bit was how flat they were. And I mentioned that tonight against Limerick. They were very, very flat.
We've talked about Chin's importance. If Galway can limit him, do you think it's that simple to get the results this weekend?
No, we straight out, I think like Cahill Dunbar, Cian Byrne, and Lee Chen. right? That is a very formidable full forward line. I think where I don't think Galway's biggest problem is going to be to control out around the middle of the field, that middle third of the field, and stop the delivery of good ball into that Wexford full forward line. And what I think might happen is that Wexford may need to bring Chen out centre forward, out centre field to get onto ball. Because if he's starved, there's no point in having a player that quality inside in at the edge of the square and the ball's only coming in every 30 seconds, where Galway are controlling it. And as I mentioned, like Mark Fanning is a very, very good goalkeeper, and his puck out strategy is really impressive, as I said, I saw it last year. So from Galway's point of view, Galway have a really good goalkeeper as well. Ironically, I saw him this year playing with UL in the Fits, and he was a really accomplished goalkeeper, very confident on the ball. So from that point of view, like his puck outs are really, really quick. And I think that Galway, the way they played against Offley, got the ball. A lot of the ball went to their half back line. The quick puck outs went to the half back line. And if it wasn't, it went to the cornerbacks, and then they took the extra ball and got it to the half back line. And that's what I mentioned earlier. The quality ball went into the Galway full forward line, where Colin Killeen really benefited that night. So from that point of view, I just think that the more that Galway starve Wexford of that possession out around the middle, out that middle third, I think Chen, you'll find, will be coming on. And for me, personally, if I was manager of Galway, I would love, the further I see Chen away from goals, the better, because like he is, as we said, he's a strong man, robust man, very fast, very strong, good hand, and he'll turn and take you on. And he won't be creating the goal opportunities inside around 20, 30 yards. So it'll be 60 yards, he'll be popping points over the bar. You'll accept that as long as you're not shipping goals. And me for personally, like last Monday, we shipped 4 goals against Galway above and Ballinasloe down to 20 with Offley. We shipped 4 goals. So like as we know, goals win matches. So from that point of view, I think Galway will need to starve that Wexford forward, and Colin Dunbar's a lovely hurler as well. I already mentioned Cian Byrne getting on ball, turning, taking on his man. So from that, there's a fairly formidable full forward line there for Wexford. So Galway need to be in tight control in the half back line around the middle third area.
You probably expect, I'd say, Jack Grealish to come into the full back line in Dai's absence this weekend, probably there, given the fact he started against Kilkenny. Rory O'Connor 1-2 against Dublin. Is Gavin Lee likely to pick him up, do you think?
Um, yeah, I think so. I think like once you're centre back, I think that you like it's a position that's of a hell of a lot of responsibility, and I think he has to sit there. I think he has to pick him up, but maybe we all might get someone to sit in front, maybe as a 6.5 or whatever, a 6+, whatever the new word is they want to use for it. Gavin, as I said, Gavin is a young lad. He's only 21 years of age, I think. And Rory O'Connor's a fairly formidable hurler as well. Like he has a good hand in him, well able to take a score. But it's the one thing that I would say, me personally, if I was manager of Galway, I'd probably play a holding midfielder in front of that situation, because Rory O'Connor and Chen dovetail in and out the whole time. So that's the area that you really need to control, and the impact of TJ Brennan, he'll really need to sit. I don't think he'll get as much freedom to go up the field. But certainly when he gets the opportunity, and Pádraig Manion the exact same way, you can't be leaving your full back line in a very vulnerable position, because it's really important that you keep that, you guard the house, as the man said, and keep the players around there. And certainly, like Rory O'Connor's an experienced hurler, and as I said, the power of Chen, like it's something that it'll be interesting to see how Gavin goes there. It'll be the making or breaking of Gavin as a centre back this weekend.
Yeah, it is. It is the question whether he. It was interesting. I thought against Offley because he went forward a lot on the Galway attacks
Yeah.
at the six and didn't sit as much.
No, because Galway they started really well above in Tullamore, and they weren't able to take those opportunities. Certainly, though, there was a 10-15 minute period where Offaly came right into it. Charlie Mitchell burst into the game. Dan Burke played very deep, came out around the middle of the field. Then he was moved out midfield. So from that point of view, like over the last number of years, under 20 level, Dan Burke has been the one player that's taken a challenge to Galway, and certainly he didn't get the opportunities above. And you saw where, like, Offley played out around the middle of the field, the middle third. They were very solid for a period of time. But it's certainly when you realise that the likes of the TJ Brennans and the Pádraig Manions, they were able to come up the field. They were their shooters. They were shooting from 70, 80 yards. And it was more the way Offaly sat across the half back line and the midfield. They tried to crowd it out as much as they could. And that's a tactic, while it has worked in a lot of occasions. But certainly, as I mentioned already, when you've Pádraig Manion that's able to strike the ball over the bar from 80, 90 yards, and now TJ Brennan coming up the other side of the field, it was done the exact same way. And that space that was created in front of Gavin Lee, there was actually no threat there as such, because what Offaly were trying to do, Offaly were trying to get the ball to the half back line and deliver it in over the Galway half back line. And it didn't work because Galway pushed up a fair bit up the field. And as I said, gave the opportunity for the Galway half back line to find their shooters, Pádraig Manion, TJ Brennan. As I mentioned, like 4 points in play. It's fairly formidable from the wing back.
Was the press, did the press impress you in Tullamore? It's 2 weeks ago now at this stage, but they really did go after the Offaly goalkeeper now. I know at some stages it probably didn't need to go short, but Galway really did squeeze him and maybe forced him into going short a few times.
It did, yeah, exactly. You saw, and I think what actually happened was when Offaly made the mistake for the goal above in Tullamore, that I think, like, Offaly went a bit long, right, where they're really based around going short to the full back line to Kieran Burke. And I think that they lost their confidence a small little bit on that situation. And they weren't going short, and they went long. And I think Galway totally controlled that situation, and ended up, as we know, that Brian Duignan was trying to come out the field to get under puckouts. So look, and that press, as you said, like, Galway were very strong in the air, getting the ball to ground. They had the bodies round the place, picked up breaking ball and took it out of it. And as I said, David Burke alone used his experience there. And more importantly, I thought was really important from a Galway point of view is if the ball went down the right hand side of the field, Galway always had a player that drifted over to the far side of the field, the opposite side of the field, where there was a get out ball. Like, there was one point where TJ Brennan got it, Garrod or Pádraig Manion attacked up the wing, stopped, and delivered a completely ball straight square across the field in the second half. And TJ Brennan was all on his own and popped it over the bar. So it's definitely a tactic that they've picked up. And as I said, I think their goalkeeper, I think the puckouts was really, really good. They were really sharp, and he was getting the ball to the half back line. Pádraig Manion picked up a fair few puckouts, where Offaly were trying to protect themselves and trying to get people back. Look, it was something that worked for Galway against Offaly, and as we said, like, the goal and the point that Offaly get away early in the game, I think that they lost a little bit of confidence, and it's something that they didn't really rigidly stick to, and took the pressure off him. Mark took the pressure off himself for a while and went long, and it benefited Galway. I have no doubt about that, because, as I said, the amount of bodies they had around the middle of the field.
Yeah, even if you're looking at the Galway forward line that started that night, John Fleming's been playing a very underrated role this year, but working really hard off the ball. Colin Manion at 11, but it was Conor Wheeler actually who started at 11. Manion went inside into the drifting role. Tiernan Cadine started 12. Tom Monaghan replaced him, so maybe it's between the two of them for that position, and then Manion, Kincannon, and Colin Malloy inside. The two racks
You
have got.
have to mention a player there now, Paul. Concannon, Brian.
Yeah, I was just about to say that day in Tullamore, there were stages where it looked like he was just going to take off.
Yeah, and didn't.
Yeah,
Um, it was like as if he was going to open up and really go out and express himself like the guy can. He's a fabulous hurler. He's a good forward. But he didn't. He threatened it, and that's like, I've no doubt Micheál Donoghue will be saying, "Hold on here now. Take the shackles off here now. Go out and attack this. Get on the ball. put it over the bar. If you look over the last number of years, Brian Concan has got great goals for Galway. He's really impressed. He comes out, gathers the ball. If the score isn't on himself, he lays it off really, really well. He's very good at creating space. When you see coming through the centre, someone come through the centre, he creates space. He drags the full back away with him and it opens up. He's a really, really clever, good hurler. And I just think like he hasn't really opened up this year yet. And I think as it goes on, I think he'll go out and express himself. And no better opportunity than at home against Wexford this weekend.
Just about to say it's probably the two Recs who are going to pick up Kincannon and Whelan this weekend, you'd imagine.
Yeah, I just feel that, Wexford, while traditionally with Davy, they played like with a sweeper system. I feel now that they're going to have to, you know, they'll probably go with a sweeper above and let it settle and see where they work their way into the game. Damien Reck is a class act. Like he's a centre back. He's a typical type Wexford type, strong hurler, good in the air, delivers a good ball. A player that's really expressing himself for Wexford as well is Charlie McGuckian. I know he's Offley connections now and all the rest, but no, he's turned into a really good hurler, and he's becoming a link man for that Wexford team. And he delivers a good ball. He gets his head up, gets his composure, which I feel is vitally important. And that almost gives you that extra split second, that confidence when you get that composure. And I think he has developed it this year. And I see him I've watched him on 2 or 3 occasions now, and his composure around the ball, does the simple thing, does it very well, but more importantly, does it very decisive in a very accurate manner. And it's a big help for Damien Reck to have him around the place as well. So there's intriguing battles. Let's see. I think that it's more Wexford have got to go up and get their matchups right, rather than Galway get their matchups right. I certainly think, okay, with the exception of the Galway full back at the moment, if it's Fintan, right, it depends who is actually going to pick up Lee Chen, because Galway have to get Dahi Burke as a sitting full back, and he from the edge of the D to that 14-yard line, he's very dominant. You saw him at his best. He looked really back to his best above against Offley. But yet there was a 10-minute period, 15-minute period where Brian Dignan, who is has turned into a very, very good intercounty hurler now, and is really gone out and expressed himself. Brian came out a little bit that day and found space, picked up a score or two. And like Galway just need, that's something that Galway, if they look back on their video analysis, maybe that's something that Lee Chen will be trying to come out and get onto that space. So that's why I'm saying it's intriguing that who plays at full back. Will he sit and mind the house? I've no doubt he will. But certainly then, who's the player that goes with Lee Chen and follows Lee Chen? Because if you have to have that really well planned, something that has to be really done on a training field, that it doesn't create an imbalance with your backs, where you could have 4 backs on one side of the field and only 2 backs on the other side of the field, and you're getting exposed, and you're getting leading a full back that's really exposed. So from that point of view, this is something that I think that Galway will really have had to go through over the last 2 weeks to get their full back in, nail down the stability of it, and be decisive about it. And certainly when Lee Chin goes Roman, who picks him up? It's the communication between goalkeeper, full back, and full back out the field, out to Pádraig Manion, where he's drifting, if he drifts to the right or to the left. So that's really important from a Galway point of view. Something's going to be really intriguing.
What is your view when it comes to Pier Stadium? Because I know the weather's nice now at the minute, but we're probably still going to have a breeze, I imagine, on Saturday.
You'll always have a breeze in Galway.
Yeah, we always do, and it's going to be strong again. But
yeah, it's going to be strong. But it's somewhere that, look, let's be honest about it. Galway hurlers are well used to playing in Pier Stadium. That's not going to be the issue, right? What the issue for Galway over the last number of years, and we referred to it earlier, is the flatness, that lack of energy, like they turned up below Nolan Park. There was no energy there. That is, if you look at it over like 16, 17, 18, always Galway never failed to deliver around that period, winning the All Ireland 2017. Limerick getting over the line against them in 2018. But they always turned up. They always brought an energy to it. And that's what I'm saying, the importance of the under 20s, having young guys like that come into a group. I know they'll only filter through. And as I said, I feel that it's more important, well, not more important, but it's something that's really important for Galway at under 20 level this year, that they get a result and take that responsibility these guys do at under 20 level and push on for the future, because it's something that Micheál Donoghue is going to have to look forward to. And this is getting back to the point about Pier Stadium. Like, all these guys have played on a regular basis in Pier Stadium. Why not? And as are very early in this now, we spoke about the Galway people getting behind to unify the whole situation, because I think that's what has been lacking over a period of time within Galway. I think, and I hate saying this, but Galway have created more questions about themselves rather than answering questions. And that's something that they need to look at. And I've no doubt the input back of Micheál Donoghue, like at Fergal Healy, Joe Canning, like all these guys that are really going back now, putting it into Galway hurling, putting it back into hurling. I feel that's the energy that needs to be brought forward, going forward for Galway. And like Aidan Hart involved with the senior team as well. That's really, really important. Aidan was down with Clare last year in the 20 level. So they've all gathered experience, and I feel that that's important, that, the stability of knowing that these guys have been through it, experienced it all, are born winners. Micheál Donoghue has won an All Ireland with Galway. Aidan Hart has won All Irelands with Galway. Like, these are all players now that only 8 years ago, they've all won All Irelands, and now they're going back, feeding the experience back into it. That's really, really important. That's something that Limerick did when we won the underage academy. The Shane Fitzgibbons, the Jerry Hegarty's, Frankie Carrolls, myself, Mike Alligan, we were all involved. And that's something that when you're feeding it back into your own county, we really reap the benefits of it. And like, since 2017, 2018, we've really been impressive. And that's where I feel that Galway can really look over it. And another important thing about Galway as well is when you look at the Cyril Farrells of this world, they have a lot of experience, these guys. And I know their heart is in Galway. I know their interest is in Galway hurling. And they're all willing, to lend a hand, share that experiences. And that's important. And that's the thing that I say, that the buy-in between the team and the supporters needs to come in this weekend, because we mentioned it. It's really, really important that they get over the line here on this weekend.
You just expect them narrowly to get over the line?
I expect them to get over the line 5-6 points of a win. And it's a game where it might, if they settle early and take the responsibility, it's something that they could make very easy for themselves. But don't, and I say it with it in the back of my head, it's just something that don't underrate Wexford at their peril. From last year, do not underrate them, because they'll turn up when a team scores 125 against you. That's really, really important. But the one worry that I do have about Wexford is the over-reliance on Chen getting on the scoreboard, the over-reliance. As I said, they have the potential. And when these guys, Cian Burns, Colin Dunbars, Rory O'Connors, and Lee Chen, if the four of them hit form, then you have a problem in your hands.
Do you see it as Galway, Dublin and Kilkenny to come out of Leinster this year?
Certainly looks like it now. Yeah. But that will depend on Galway's result. That will totally depend on Galway's result. The Dublin Antrim game is going to be intriguing.
Yeah.
Very, very intriguing. It's a tough place to go now. Up there, go up to the north, win above in Belfast. Tough ask for Dublin. Dublin team now that 3 minutes to go, they were behind against Offley, against a very, very improving Offley team. And like, if Offley had got just a small bit of luck above in Parnell Park, it would have made Dublin under massive pressure. Dublin, the last of them, like you see the benefits of a win, and it gives the confidence. So from that point of view, like going up to Antrim and Davy, like it's looking, people are saying now that, is Antrim going to be relegated? Davy will always pull a rabbit out of the hat. And I think this weekend is one of the matches that Davy will have been targeting to go up, for Dublin to go up to Antrim. And Antrim, like, they give it everything above there. It's an intriguing place. I saw Antrim against Offley in the National Hurling League. He was absolutely disgusted that day with the way they performed. And certainly, I don't think that'll ever happen under his watch again this year. But it's very intriguing, very, very intriguing. It's all there, and it's all there in front of everyone to grab hold of the situation this weekend.
I do have to ask you, Leo, obviously a lot being made of Munster at the minute, and it usually says of every game down there. But can you still see Leinster teams playing a part this year? Because at the moment, there's a lot of people probably have a lot of the Munster teams ahead of Leinster at the minute.
um, yeah, I look at it from a different point of view, Paul. The intriguing part about Munster hurling at the moment, over the last number of years, number one, Limerick have been the form team in Munster, 6 Munster championships in a row. Clare were winning in All Ireland last year. Cork beating Limerick twice, right? And improving Tip team this year, right? And improving Waterford team this year. So there's 5 counties, we say, in Munster, and under a given day, if any team hits the form, right, I think that it has been so intriguing. But there's a number of factors that people don't realise, that what gives the Munster Hurling Championship that X factor, I suppose we'll call it. You have 22,000 people jam-packed in below in Cusack Park for Cork and Clare. You'll have 42,000 people in the Gaelic grounds next week, the weekend after next Sunday week. Like, you have Waterford with opening up Walsh Park again. Lovely ground. I was in it last weekend. Lovely ground, great atmosphere. And these are the things that's been seen on television. These are the things that's been seen on the Sunday game. And it's the atmosphere that the whole thing is creating. Leinster really doesn't kick in, right, till Leinster finals. And that's just, I think the support comes out in Leinster finals. And I think that's what I'm saying about Galway have the ability to bring that X factor to it. Like last year, I was above the Leinster final, Dublin and Kilkenny. Same day, Offaly won the McDonagh Cup, to beat Laois in the McDonagh Cup final. Like, the game was over after 15, 20 minutes that day. Dublin capitulated. And the game lacked intensity. And that's one of the things that over the last number of years, and Kilkenny will always be there. Kilkenny will always be bringing through players. Every year, other counties have to bring in 5 or 6 players. Like Galway are looking for players at the moment. They want these young players, the Gavin Lees, Tiernan Killeens, they want these guys to step up to the plate and really become really good inter-county hurlers. Kilkenny only are needing 2 and 3 every year, right? If you look at the Kilkenny bench, 2022, Billy Drennan won in All-Ireland under 20. Harry Shine was under 20 last year. These are only all guys that are beginning to come through now. Kilkenny have a strong under 20 hurling team. Owen Ling was only the only one to tog off for the Leinster Championship the last day. Pádraig Moylan coming through, had a very good season with DCU. Ivan Bulger playing a fullback at under 20 level for him. So these are all guys that Kilkenny can keep on their under 20 panel and bring through a system where it really, really suits them and gradually integrate them. If you look back on the Cody era, a lot of players with Brian Cody didn't make it. They were 25, 26, fully grown, fully developed. And he gave every one of those Kilkenny players time to grow into their body. Limerick are in that situation now, where they've gradually, the likes of Aidan O'Connor has been coming through, Colin Neal has been coming through, Paddy O'Donovan with UL this year. They've all had good Fitzgibbon Cups. And as you see, they're gradually filtering on to Cahill has probably been there for the last year and a half now. Suffered injuries this year, but look, these are things that happens in sport. So from that point of view, I just feel that the Leinster Championship doesn't come available and doesn't come alive till the Leinster final. And invariably over the last number of years, it needs Galway and Kilkenny to be those two teams, or else a local derby with Wexford and Wexford and Kilkenny. But overall, when you look at the Leinster Championship Hurling, and it's going to be very intriguing over the next number of years. I think that when next year the Offaly under-20s, when they're all up senior, a lot of them will be up senior next year. There's 19 players between the 2023 and 2024 All Ireland on the Offaly senior hurling panel now, along with the experiences, the Kieran Burks, Ben Keneally, these guys, Brian Dignans, these guys are only all 25, 26 years of age. And like with the energy that comes up, they'll go to step up to the plate over the next number of years, and they'll bring Offley back to the fore. Galway, as I said, Galway needed an injection of life in the next year. And I think Micheál Donoghue being there for the next 2 or 3 years is going to be intriguing. The energy levels he can get Galway up to. And as we consistently, Kilkenny will always be there. Wexford are a county. Keith Roster did great work at under 20 level there for 2 or 3 years before he became senior hurling manager. So Keith knows what's in Wexford. So I think that a Leinster Championship that's going to be improving and very intriguing over the next 3 to 4 years. And I think one that will capture the imagination of the public in Leinster. Dublin with Na Fianna winning an All-Ireland club. Like Dublin have the players. It's a matter of getting them out in the field. Owen O'Donnell is a huge loss to them this year. Like often to play football, that's a huge loss to them. I just think that throw that man in at fullback, and you have a different animal of a Dublin team then. Like Chris Cromie at centre back. These are guys that are around the place, loads of experience, and it's certainly, I think that over the next 3 to 4 years, I think the Leinster Championship is going to take on a hell of a lot of energy, and it'll be intriguing battles. And I think, like, while it looks at times, when you went to a Croke Park, like obviously Croke Park is so big, it loses that energy, it lacks that atmosphere. But I think as counties like the Tullamore, the Nolan Parks, I think that these grounds are more than capable of creating that energy and creating that atmosphere. And I think that it's really going to take pride of place over the next 2 or 3 years. Obviously, like Munster, it's all glam. It looks like the glam glitz situation. You know what I mean? You're working down here, Paul. You know what it's like. Like the whole place is wetting their lips already with the Limerick Cork situation, Limerick Clare situation still to come. Clare or Tip going down to Ennis on the weekend. Like these are games that, full houses packed out, and Clare are going to go out and give it all. No Clare team will ever come out of Ennis without giving it their all. I've never seen a Clare team to lie down on their back and just roll over. That's not going to happen.
Who are you backing as your three from Munster at the minute?
I think there's going to be twists and turns in this before it's over, Paul. Right. Cork are the confident team. They're the form team. Limerick really, with the team changes, with Kyle Hayes going in centre back, Barry Nash coming out wing back, the stability that brought to a Limerick team. Dan Morrissey back in full back, Mike Casey going out corner, like Barry Nash, an intriguing battle, like Barry Nash, Sean Finn. Limerick now have options. Diarmuid Burns, even though picked up the yellow card the last day, and that's taken him off there for 19 minutes. There's an option there that if Limerick decide to go with Cathal O'Neill at wing back, that's another option that they can look at. So, like, there's loads of energy back in Limerick. So I fully expect Limerick to be thereabouts coming out of Munster. I fully expect Cork. And I think after this weekend, it's going to be a hell of a battle. If Tip get over the line this weekend, my God, 3 points out of 6.
Really just a battle between Tip and Waterford then in that final game to decide it, really, yeah.
Yeah, and that's what it boils down to, Paul. Like, you fully expect Cork to get over the line below Páirc Uí Chaoimh against Waterford. So that puts Cork into almost the final. Probably Limerick if Tip caught Clare this weekend, Clare would be under 1 point out of 6 out of it coming to Gaelic grounds. You then expect Limerick to get over the line there. So as I said, but like Munster is Munster. It's that intriguing battle, it's the rivalries, and as you know, everything has a life of its own down here.
Yeah.
Like, and let's see what happens with Limerick and Cork. That's the most intriguing battle that's coming in the Munster Championship. And I think that will decide a lot. You know, it could leave Cork on 3 out of 6 under pressure playing Waterford. That hopefully,
Could leave both teams on 4 points as well.
this is my point. So, like, I just think that it's going to be very tight. And I don't think Limerick are going, like, after being beaten twice last year by Cork, my God, I think it's time to unload. And I think that, that's one of the most, and you heard John last Saturday night, rousing the Limerick crowd, putting it up to them, get out there. This is our fortress. And listen, it's going to be one for the ages. But there's one thing that we haven't mentioned, Paul, here, and it's really intriguing, is how all these games are going to be refereed.
Yeah.
That is the hidden factor behind all this.
Because I know last weekend we didn't see a lot of pulling and dragging or whatever to start the game down in Walsh Park.
No,
That was only one game.
that was only one game.
Yeah.
I think that the Limerick game in Thurles, Limerick and Tip and Thurles, hell of a lot of pulling and dragging. Within the first, when Limerick players, Limerick full forward line went up to their position, all three of them were on the ground within 30 seconds, wrestling, pulling and dragging, pushing and shoving. You saw the unfortunate incident where Darren McCarthy, I felt sorry for him, just a bit of an experience. And you see the benefits that Cork got out of it. And literally the game ended 15 seconds in for Tipperary, playing against a very vibrant, full of energy Cork team that were after beating them in a National Hurling League final and playing with 14 players below in Park Keith. You saw the way that sucked the life out of Tip. And that's what I'm saying. Let's see how this weekend goes. That's going to be an intriguing battle. The energy that Tip go down to Ennis and play. And I've no doubt a Clare team on their backs fighting for their lives as well. So there's a hell of a lot of hurling to be played.
Before we finish, Leo, the point was made on the Galway game. A lot of Galway supporters were frustrated in Tullamore. James Owens reffing it because obviously he's Wexford. Galway play Wexford next. Do you think that should be taken into consideration when these referees are appointed? That with obviously that referee from that county is reffing that game and he's your county's next fixture. Do you think maybe we should have a crossover between Munster and Leinster referees in their various provinces?
Um, Probably not. But to get a balance right, and when you look at all the top class referees around the place, these are all things that, and I hate saying this, these are all things that people throw into the equation. This is what makes the media, makes social media so powerful now. These are all things that people, in hindsight, they look at. It's something that Croke Park are going to have to look at, because I think it's really, really important to get the right people at the right time to referee the right matches. And that's the most important thing. Liam Gordon above in Galway is probably Johnny Murphy, James Owens, Colm Lyons. These are all guys that have been the last 3 or 4 years at the top and refereeing, and they're probably very, very used to a lot of the players. They got to know the players. It's like everything else. Players on the field get to know the players they're marking. Referees get to know the players that they're refereeing as well. So from that point of view, it's intriguing. But I think for the benefit of the game, I think, it's going to have to be really, the crossover is going to have to take place on a greater scale than the scale it has. Like Liam Gordon refereed the 2024 Munster final, didn't he? Between Limerick and Tip, or Limerick and Clare inside the Gaelic grounds. Like, I thought he did a fabulous job on the Clare and Tip game in Cusack Park. That was a very, very hard game to referee. He let it flow as much as he can. And like, my dad was a referee, and I come from a background where, like, when I was a young fella, you hear the slaggings that referees get, and it's not easy. It's a very hard job to do, and especially now with the power and the pace, strength and conditioning, nutrition, you name it, video analysis. Like, referees are looking at this in a split second. So that's where I think referees need support. And maybe throw into the equation the use of TV analysis when it gets that then they need to have. Maybe you need to have a look at that. Maybe you need to revisit that. And it can happen pretty quick. You see it can happen within 4 or 5 seconds.
You just talking from someone upstairs,
Yeah,
like Hawkeye.
yeah. I think the sooner it comes in, the better. Like, because James Mahon sending off in the National Hurling League. Like, when you look at it now and some of the tackles that have happened in the Munster Championship and some of the tackles that have happened in the Leinster Championship, it was fairly innocuous. Now I know Sean Stack was looking at it from a different point of view, and the referee can only go on the person that's thereby. But like, the Galway player Gavin Lee had his back to Sean Stack when it happened. James brushed off him. It was no more a sending off than the man in the moon. But these are the things that, the benefits of TV, the benefit of like something like a Hawkeye situation where someone needs to, maybe you need to revisit that. Maybe this is something that you need to take on board.
Yeah, definitely think it's worth examining there. That's all we do have time for on to this evening's podcast. It's Galway Wexford on Saturday at 3:15 in Pier Stadium in round 3 of the Leinster Senior Hurling Championship, live on RT, of course. Leo O'Connor, thanks very much for coming on to this week's podcast.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate that.